what I was saying is a lot of people like to focus on the sensuality and the sex part, but for me, a huge aspect of what I took from them was communal living, how to communicate with people in a healthy way, how to all be part of a team to make the whole living environment better, and how to give back to your community.
That was Angela Tabora. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco. Every week on this podcast, we bring you photographers, musicians, business owners, and other San Franciscans telling stories and responding to the question, what is it about this place? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 9, Part 2. In Part 1, Ange shared the story of how she ended up in San Francisco's Morehouse, a place for communal living and sensuality classes. In this podcast, she talks about the documentary movie that she made about the house and its inhabitants. Here's Ange.
What were some of the, like, did you lay out, parameters or, like, what are we going to film when you pitched it to your roommates?
So once they said they were cool with it, I was like, okay, well, now you're really going to have to explain to me what this lifestyle is all about, because then I can pick and choose what I think is important and what I think is even possible, because obviously they're not just going to let me record them having sex or doing, which is manual for the most part. It's not a dick kind of thing. It's a hand kind of thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Michelle's face. Just sorry. You looked so pleased by that, like, oh. Sorry. Anyway, they still teach courses, by the way. Okay, so let's talk about the history of Morehouse.
Yes, let's do.
Once I got the green light, they're like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's talk all about Morehouse. So it all was started by a man named Victor Barranco. He and his wife, Susie, in the 60s, wanted to take their sexing to a new level. So they're like, okay, let's explore. Let's explore sexuality, sensuality. And through their findings, those findings were the premise of Morehouse, and they called it Morehouse because more. You want more out of life. More is a good thing. And one thing that I really loved about their approach was it's that we're already perfect, but within perfection there is still room for change and growth. It wasn't like something's wrong with our sex life, let's fix it. That's already starting at a negative point. But it's like, we're perfect the way we are. And let's explore that and grow within that perfection. And so they started teaching courses in sensuality. And Vic's main purpose was, if the women in our lives were pleased, then the men will be pleased in turn. And coming from a patriarchal society to this day, that's fucking huge, right? So Morehouse was established in 1968. Basically, they started a home in Lafayette, and one thing that's really funny was like image was really important to them too. So purple, they chose purple to be their color. So all of the homes are painted purple. The home that I lived in is painted purple. They would travel around in these old beat up purple limousines, and it was just like, they just wanted people to know, like, we're living. We're his one of his phrases is, fun is the goal, love is the way. He wanted to explore pleasuring women, and he found that when the women are pleased, so are the men, and that's a theory I can get behind.
Literally?
Women, right? Yeah. So everybody likes to focus on the sex aspect because obviously that's intriguing. One of their courses, for example, you will witness a woman in orgasm for an hour. Just so you know that it's possible. The intensity and the duration, it's possible. It used to, actually, the first time that they did this course, she was in orgasm for 3 hours. And then they were like, exhausting. You know what? I think they get the point after one. I mean, after a while, I'm going to get hungry. I'm like, I get it, So they cut it down to 1 hour because they were like, 3 was a bit excessive. Jeez. But they wanted you to know that it's possible.
That's definitely more.
Right. That's more than I need, I think, personally. But it's funny because I wasn't allowed to film anything in Lafayette. I wasn't allowed to film any of the courses. I could take them if I wanted to, but as a college kid, I don't have $300 to take an orgasm class, unfortunately, unfortunately. I mean, that was maybe now I can save up and finally take that orgasm. But I watched a video of a course, and it's essentially a woman, basically it's like an OBGYN table with her legs up facing the class. And then a man comes up, he's wearing gloves, he uses Vaseline, and he's like, now I'm going to rub blah, blah, blah. And you hear her like, ah! And then he's like, see how it's turning like this deep pink? That means this. And then he'll like put in his fingers, and he's like, and then when I go to the left, and she's like, rawr, like pterodactyl. And I was watching this with my roommates like.
It sounds like clinical sex.
Absolutely. It's very much not an emotional thing, but I think you should get done because it's good for you. It's very much, or so they say, but of course emotion gets in the way. Of course. Somebody's going to have their favorites, and just because you're part of Morehouse, it doesn't mean that you're just doing everyone. Some people are monogamous, some people are parts of groups, and some people are celibate and don't even practice that part. It's more the communal thing that they're drawn to. And so that's... So what I was saying is a lot of people like to focus on the sensuality and the sex part, but for me, a huge aspect of what I took from them was communal living, how to communicate with people in a healthy way, how to all be part of a team to make the whole living environment better, and how to give back to your community. That was a huge part of their living. Was they would go and get old flowers from the flower mart, old bread from Semi Freddy's, this bakery. They would get old groceries from the market and hand them out to the community. Like we went out to different parts of the community, and they would go to the hospital to deliver flowers. And that for me, I think was a huge impact on me. Is like, wow, there's so much that we can do. There's so much that we are capable of doing that really doesn't take much. It takes no money. It just takes effort. And so I attribute that aspect of myself to them. My deep involvement with volunteering and really wanting to give back to my community and seeing what a huge effect that has on it. So yes, there's that sex thing that's obviously intriguing, but really for me it was this communal living and really caring about each other and seeing how that affects your life.
It's almost karmic in a way, right? Like
for sure.
Like, oh, there's this intense pleasure aspect on one hand, but like it can't just be that. It has to be coupled with charity and
right.
And giving.
I think it all comes down to our connectedness. We're not alone in this world, whether you like it or not. Right. And when we decide to come to terms with the fact that like the way you are is going to affect the way that I am in terms of just happiness and synchronicity. Once you realize that we all have an effect on each other, whether you like it or not, then you can really take hold of that effect and make it a positive one. Yeah. And it comes back to you. So I really love them for that. And there are a couple different principles that Morehouse teaches that also really taught me a lot. One of them was Vic started this thing called a 1-no vote. So they would have meetings. And in my San Francisco home, we had these as well. Once a month, we'd have house meetings. And if one person voted no, we wouldn't move forward. That's it. It's sort of like the Native American way as well. It's just like everybody's voice matters just as much.
Right.
So even
every
though you're
decision needs to be unanimous.
So even though you're not part of the majority, if you're uncomfortable with something, we're not going to do it. Or let's talk through it, and maybe you'll be comfortable in the end of this conversation. But so I loved that aspect of like, so Vic was running this home, but he's like, my voice is not any more important than anyone else's. So that was a really big one, and then he started this thing called Sanctuary, and essentially he understood that at some points in your life you just need a break from your life. So if you were part of the Morehouse community and you were going through a rough patch, they'd be like, okay, don't work, don't do anything, we'll take care of you. And when I was living in the San Francisco home, we had this man named Conway living there for free. But in turn, he was living in Sanctuary, and he would cook our meals for us 5 nights a week. He was the chef. And he was HIV positive, so all of our meals were very healthy and low fat, and it was incredible. So yeah, he was living there for free, but really he gave back so much more. So there's this understanding of like, we're not all meant to be robots, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. This is when we work every day, all year. And like, sometimes we need a fucking break. And so all these, at 22, all these ideas are being taught to me. And I'm just like, fuck, blown away, just blown away.
And there is something so, like, I'm not going to say this doesn't exist at all in Southern California, but like going back to like, you're a Southern California kid, you're coming up to San Francisco. There is something so Northern California
so
and San Francisco about it.
Yeah.
Right?
I was like, of course I end up living in this situation. Of course. Yeah. No, but I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. And I think that at the time as well, I was dating a girl. And it was the first girl that I ever dated. So here I was, growing up Catholic, moving to San Francisco. Now I'm dating a girl. So I'm coming to terms with my own sexuality. I'm very uncomfortable. I basically was never comfortable. I knew that it was right. I knew that I loved her. So I knew that I was doing the right thing for myself, but I was never, I never thought that, I always had that guilt, that fucking Catholic guilt.
Yeah.
Even though I knew that I loved her and it was the right thing for me at that moment. So here I am, like, still coming to terms with my own sexuality. And then here are these, like, people that are just like, what? Just love, just be free. And, you know, in terms that are, like, respectful and, you know,
just
obviously. But just do.
Just do.
Yeah, no, just
Not
do.
It, just do.
Okay, so it comes time to start filming the documentary. The school thankfully funded everything. So we got cameras, we got everything that we needed, really nice equipment. And I had a crew based on, there was a course that was like documentary filmmaking. And then we would basically like pick a crew out of my documentary and the other one that got picked to be produced by the school. So we're filming, and the funny thing is, like, we're shooting interviews and stuff, but really the magic came when I was just home alone and some shit was going down and I grabbed the camera and filmed it. Like, for example, Denise, who's one of my favorites, we're having a dinner party for one of our roommates that's moving out, and she's preparing this chicken, and we're drinking wine at the time, right? She's preparing this, like, chicken breast, I believe it was, and she's talking about, like, sensuality or whatever, and she's like, for example, I can just rub this chicken and feel this chicken. And I'm sitting there like, keep the camera still, keep the camera still. I've had a glass of wine in me. And she's like, I could just feel this chicken with a taking touch. That's what they call it, a taking touch. A touch that's for me, not you. Because we think we touch someone for them. But what if you touch someone, but you're really taking in from that touch instead of giving? And then she goes, see, I'm touching this chicken and now I feel it in my crotch. I swear to God. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, keep it together. Stay cool. But like, these are the moments that never would have happened with a crew. It was just because I lived with them, you know? So I don't know. I feel like a lot of my exploration with them was really me just getting more comfortable with myself too. It was this really, it was the biggest lesson that I got out of school.
Well, I was going to say,
had nothing to do with school.
Also, she felt, whatever it was, she felt comfortable enough, even though the camera was going, with you in the room, even though the camera's on.
They trusted me so much. They trusted me with so much. And another thing that I want to talk about that I got to film was they do this thing called visual inventory. And it's part of their basic sensuality course. And it has to do with you just understanding how sexy you are and how beautiful you are and self-confidence. So what you do is, the best way to do it is when you get out of the shower naked, just stand in front of the mirror and start talking about what you like about yourself physically. It has nothing to do with, I'm smart, I'm this. Just look in the mirror and what do you like? When do you ever do that? We look in a mirror to see if anything's fucked up, right? That's our connotation. But they taught me to look in a mirror and find the beauty. And what happens is if you do it regularly, you start finding more and more things. And then all of a sudden, once you head out into the real world, you're like, I'm fucking hot, you know? Like, I'm sorry. No, but it's true. I mean, try it. Just look in a mirror and don't see the fault. See the beauty. It's just a different filter. It's like, okay, to put it in millennial terms, you're using a different filter, right? You're not using the ugly filter, you're using the beauty filter. And then see what comes of that. And trust me, it'll keep adding on. It'll keep adding on because there's so much. And
so they taught you that, now it's a part of you.
Yeah, well, it's part of the documentary. Yeah, they were not naked, but 2 of them were gracious enough to do a visual inventory for me, and it's awesome. I was like, fuck yeah, good, great, I love it. And I'd never heard anybody speak to themselves in that way, but also not in a way that's like egotistical. It's just like, oh, I like my fingers. They're not. It's not a flashy thing. It's just like appreciating yourself. I remember after that, I texted my friend who was my producer, and I was like, I think I just fucking filmed some gold. Because, the whole time, like, I wasn't able to film anything sexual. I was filming some interesting stuff and communal living and whatever, but any of the sex stuff I wasn't able to film. But I was like, I think I got something good today. I mean, and that a chicken breast has never looked the same. A raw chicken breast just has never looked the same. Maybe that's why I like them so much. I'm like, I'll take the breast.
How did it taste that night?
Salty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Surprisingly. Unsurprisingly, actually. But anyway, I knew that when I was shooting the documentary that I couldn't just interview Morehouse people. Like, I had to have some inside conversation on the commune. But I was like, how the fuck do I do that? It wasn't as simple as going to Facebook or Twitter or whatever like we do today. This was 2002. So I started asking people, and it was crazy. One of my friends, as well as one of my sister's friends, both were raised in Lafayette and knew of them as the Purple People. That's what they were called. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? So we were able to interview them just about, like, what did you think of them? What did they feel like to the outside world? And then I reached out to, like, anything in Lafayette that I could, the police department, the library, the this, the that. I'm like, do you know anything about the Morehouse, started in 1968, blah, blah, blah. And somebody reached out to me. He was a parole officer at the time. And he was a parole agent in California, and one of his parolees invited him to his wedding. And he's like, okay, great. Yeah, of course I'll come. And it just so happened to be in Morehouse in Lafayette, the wedding. And so he shows up. It's this great story. Now you're not even going to need to watch the documentary. But anyway, I just can't believe I found this guy, because this was in a time when, like, you just don't find people like you do today, right. So I go to interview him, and I have no idea what he's going to tell me. But he's like, I have a story about Morehouse. I think you'll like it. So I show up, and he tells me, like, this parolee invites him to his wedding. It's at the Lafayette home. And he shows up in, like, suit and tie, and everybody's, like, half naked. And he's like, okay, this is different. He said he felt like a narc. He's like, everybody was just like, who invited this guy? So the wedding ceremony takes place in their bed. The groom is wearing a bow tie, and that's it. The bride is wearing a veil, and that's it. So they go through the whole ceremony, and everything happens. And then at the end, everybody invites them to stay and watch the consummation of the marriage. And he goes, that's when I decided.
While you're here.
Yeah. He's like, that's when I decided it's time to go. But it was like, yeah, we were able to find, I mean, obviously they made an impact in their community to the point where, like, people remember if they've ever had any any experiences with the people of Morehouse. We started in January. We ended it in May. So it was like a 4 or 5 month shot, edited, done. And then I was graduated from school with that. So it was cool. It was like such an integral time in my life. And it was such an important thing for me to learn about these alternative lifestyles as a woman graduating from college and coming into my own as a young adult. Is like, oh wait, I don't necessarily, graduating from college, I don't need to follow some certain sort of rules, or there are possibilities beyond what I can even imagine. So that's led me to definitely to who I am today. So I'm forever grateful to them for that. So Dave, who passed away, who was the owner of the home, who interviewed me, who let me live with this amazing group of people, he said something really beautiful in a documentary that I'd love to end on. He said, there's nothing to fix. It's just a matter of enjoying, having more fun, and growing as a person. So I think, that's something special to end on, is just don't be so hard on yourself. You're beautiful. You're perfect, but there's always room for growth. And just be aware of that and do the best you can. That's all we can do.
That was Angela Tabora. Check back next week when you'll hear from former Green Apple Books owner Kevin Hunsinger. Music for the podcast is by Otis McDonald. Film photography is by Michelle Kilfeather. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date on everything we do. Seasons 1 and 2 of the podcast are up on our website, storiedsf.com. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please do us a favor and rate and review the show. Send comments or suggestions to storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.